Asset protection has become a buzzword in the last couple of years, especially very recently with all the attempts of many governments introducing CBDC and similar systems. Especially entrepreneurs, but in general, many families are looking to move their businesses, but also move their assets offshore and in that way protect their assets. And in today's video, I'm going to explain it to you from my own experience. What are some of the top mistakes entrepreneurs and families that are looking to move their assets offshore and looking to move their businesses offshore often make? Hi, I'm Jovana from Nomad Capitalist, where we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and their families legally reduce their taxes by going offshore, obtaining multiple citizenship and residence, and most importantly, protect their wealth. I had a chance over the last couple of years to work with many entrepreneurs and families that are starting to move their wealth, their assets, their businesses offshore. And they often read a lot, hear a lot of things, and they think, okay, this is something that we can do on our own. The only thing is what we need is to find an agent in X country that will help us set up a company and we'll be super protected, or our businesses are going to flourish offshore. So that's not how exactly it works. And this is obviously one of the first traps where you can fall into if you're just looking into moving, again, your businesses or some of your assets offshore. But there are a number of mistakes that can cause. So first, and one of the most frequent mistakes many people make is that they mix their offshore companies. So it can be visible in two ways. Sometimes they have multiple businesses that might be similar or similar areas, or might be completely different. And what they often do is when they go offshore, they put that under one business structure. So whether that involves simply one company in an low tax jurisdiction, they kind of merge multiple businesses in one company. Obviously, that's not good from multiple perspectives. First of all, knowing where your money is coming from, keeping track of all of that. But it also can cause a number of different issues. When you suddenly need to open better bank accounts, obviously many banks will ask where your money is coming from. And providing multiple streams of revenue might not always be easy, and they might not always want to hear that. So banks usually do prefer keeping one revenue stream when it comes to especially offshore account, or showing them multiple revenue streams, but within the same business, but not from kind of multiple merged businesses, if that makes sense. So that is one of the things, like often people who might also have like multiple companies, let's say in the US, or multiple companies in Canada, when they go offshore, they just put all of their businesses into one structure. That's not something that you should be doing. And also the other, maybe even worse mistake is that they put their assets and their active business into one corporate structure. Again, that is like a big no-no in offshore world. Also, it does create a lot of issues with banks per se, but you do have different needs, and kind of one offshore jurisdiction might not necessarily be the best both for your active business and your assets. Obviously, if that business has certain assets, you can put them under same corporate structure. But if there is a mix, then it is not something you should be doing. And that brings us to our second most frequent mistake, is that people often put everything in the same jurisdiction, which is a bit counterintuitive, right? If you are looking to move from one jurisdiction in order to get asset protection, you don't just go to one jurisdiction. Like, you already have some concerns about a single jurisdiction. Why would you now have the same fear, just about different jurisdiction. But also, again, not every single jurisdiction is good for everything. So if you're looking for simple asset protection, two jurisdictions will really come up as the best. That is St. Kitts and Nevis, that has absolutely the best asset protection law in the world. The other is Cook Islands, also amazing asset protection law in the world. So those jurisdictions are good for your assets, to put trust in your jurisdiction, but they're not good for your companies, for your operating businesses. Why? Because you cannot get access to the banking that you need to operate your business on the day-to-day level. You might be able to open a couple bank accounts in some other jurisdictions, maybe even on the ground, like Cook Islands or St. Kitts, but those might not necessarily give you what you need. So very easy transactions, very easy access to your money, it might be a problem. Banks in those jurisdictions are also really set up to facilitate what they are best for. They're really set up to support trust, to support you parking your money in those jurisdictions and not using it compared to using it on a day-to-day basis. So that also might be a problem. So you might contribute your operating business into your trust, and that is perfectly fine, but it needs to be a separate corporate structure and preferably in a separate jurisdiction. So you, for example, can use a BVI company or multiple companies for your operating businesses. It will give you access to relatively good banking system, and then contribute those companies to, for example, Cook Island Trust. So that is something that can be done, but do not use the same jurisdiction for your asset protection and operating business. So also when we're speaking about asset protection, often people have different investments in those kind of companies. So jurisdictions that are better for investments might not be the best for operating businesses. Also, one of the things that we see frequently happening is holding your personal assets on your personal name. So often people, when they go offshore, they just move, for example, if they had brokerage accounts and they're on their personal name in a specific country, to just continue having those or open new ones, but on personal name. Obviously, that is not the best solution and can cause a number of issues. Especially tricky are the U.S. CGS assets. So if you do have U.S. brokerage accounts on your personal name as a non-U.S. individual, and that can be as simple as Interactive Brokers brokerage account, that can create you huge tax issues down the road. So brokerage accounts in the U.S. held by non-U.S. individuals are subject to estate taxes up to 40%. And there is only one very small exemption, and that is $60,000 exemption. So compared to U.S. people that get almost $13 million lifetime gift exclusion, as a non-U.S. person, you would have only $60,000 tax-exempt money from your estate taxes. So in order not to create issues, maybe not necessarily for you right now, but for your future generations who maybe won't be able to pay those estate taxes, you should hold those assets in your company. So the company or a trust in this case that would, for example, own brokerage account in U.S. or properties in U.S. and so forth, should be owned by a company or a trust, an offshore company or a trust, and they serve as a blocker for estate taxes in the U.S. that can kick in. It is a very similar story in many other jurisdictions. So if you are moving offshore but still have some assets in different countries, make sure to hold those in different companies. Obviously, sometimes it might be better to have a local company that would further be owned by some offshore company. Sometimes those assets can be owned directly by offshore company, and this is where a tax planning kicks in. How to really structure that to have maximum guarantee asset protection and possibly the lowest possible tax bill on those assets. So let me recap what would be the most frequent mistakes. Mixing up your offshore companies, meaning holding companies that hold your assets and your operating business being the same company, or mixing your multiple businesses into one corporate structure, then holding everything together in one jurisdiction. Again, that will just extend your anxiety. So next time you hear something is going on in that country, instead of simply moving one company, finding the best jurisdiction for one operating business, now you will fear that jurisdiction might just hold all of your assets. And the third one is holding everything in your personal name. Just because something is not a part of your operating business, it doesn't mean it needs to be held in your personal name. You can also put it in a corporate structure, in many cases, offshore corporate structure that will get you a better asset protection and reduce your tax bill. But if you're still not sure where to start, or you're looking to move your assets or your operating businesses offshore and you're not sure what the best jurisdictions for you are going to be, Nomad Capitalist team would be happy to help you if you go to Nomad Capitalist apply page and kickstart your journey.